Summertime in the Granite State of New Hampshire. Plenty of family fun to be had, especially with NASCAR at the Magic Mile, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The 1 mile oval at Loudon is fast, flat, and fickle. It's also the biggest racetrack in New England in size and prestige. Hi everybody, I'm Ralph Shaheen alongside Landon Castle as we get ready for the United Site Services 70. It's NASCAR's K&N Pro Series East here at the Magic Mile. And Landon, this can be a really tricky racetrack. Looks simple, but it's not.
It's definitely not easy. We've got PJ1 on the track on the top group and the bottom, so the drivers have an extra challenge.
And a beautiful day weather-wise, just in the mid-70s. So where is New Hampshire Motor Speedway? Well, we're just outside of Boston, a little bit north, about 80 miles.
You know, we're here this weekend with the Monster Energy Cup Series cars, which I'm driving in as well. So I love racing at this track in the Northeast.
Pretty decent points battle. Tyler Ankrum is leading it, but a lot of folks talking about Tyler Dipple this year.
Yeah, really, it's just those DGR Crosley cars had all the speed this year. And those two Tylers, they like to battle it out. Got the Bassett brothers running well as well.
So when it comes to winners, here's how they have broken down so far this year. Gilliland has been in the mix. You can see Dipple grabbing a couple of victories, and Ankrum as well has stood on the top step of the podium. Let's go down trackside now and touch base with Dylan Welch. He'll be patrolling the pits today.
Thanks, Ralph. It's a great field of cars that's assembled here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway for this NASCAR K&N East battle. You got the usual suspects from the East, including the DGR Crosley duo, but some newcomers, or some relative newcomers to this series this year. Invaders from the West Coast, the Bill McAnally Racing Trio is here, as is defending series champion Harrison Burton, who of course has made some ARCA starts and some NASCAR Camping World Truck Series starts this year with some success in both of those divisions. The big question so far today has been the PJ1 traction compound that was laid down here at New Hampshire. It's been a busy weekend so far at the racetrack. Already have had a 100-lap modified race and a 200-lap Xfinity race that has already finished up here today. So nobody really knows how much of that traction compound is left. So that's a variable that's going to come into play over the course of this race. We'll find out how much of that traction compound is left over the course of the next 70 laps here at New Hampshire.
Landon, what do you think we can expect out of that?
I think it's just an extra challenge for the drivers picking the right line. I think there's going to be plenty of compound on the track, though. They put a fresh layer on it this morning. It was pretty grippy on the Cup cars this morning for me in happy hour. So the drivers just got to figure it out.
Back in the day, this racetrack looked a lot different.
And greetings from the Granite State of New Hampshire. I'm Ken Squire at Breyer Motorsport Park in Loudon. NASCAR late model stock cars are here participating on this 1.6-mile track, now down to the showdown between some of the top drivers from the eastern area of Canada and the northeastern United States.
Let's take a look at some of the racing on this day. Check out Robbie Crouch in the 48 and Chuck Bound coming up on the inside in the 7. This was a 325-lap affair on this day, Landon. Chuck Bound's going to end up taking the win here in the final 25. But over the course of 3 races, Robbie Crouch scored more points. He won the overall. What do you think of this place as a road course back then?
That's a different kind of roval that we've been talking about lately in this sport. Looks like a good racetrack, though. A lot of bumping and grinding.
You know, there was one corner actually known as the Toilet Bowl. I remember doing a lot of races there when it was a road course. Today, however, big flat 1 mile oval. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the stars of NASCAR's K&N Pro Series East battle here at the Magic Mile. K&N Pro Series Racing at NBCSN is brought to you by K&N High Flow Air Filters and Air Intake Systems, because everyone loves that fast car smell. The nerves are starting to rise for some of the drivers as we get closer to race time, like Harrison Burton. And I'm pretty sure, Dylan, that that's one driver we should keep an eye on today.
Well, Ralph, one of the guys that I am keeping my eye on today is Harrison Burton. Of course, he was the champion in this division last year. He's been busy already this year. 5 ARCA starts, including a win at Pocono. He's made 3 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series starts with a best finish of 3rd at Iowa. He was 4th here last year, but the rest of the field's going to have their hands full with the champ and trying to beat him here this evening.
What do you like about Harrison Burton?
Well, I mean, I think he's got great lineage. He's got a lot of experience coming for him. I talked to his dad, Jeff, at the racetrack. He told me one thing he's working on with Harrison is being able to be more vocal inside the car to tell his crew about what it's doing so they can prepare themselves for adjustments. I thought that was good advice.
Spencer Davis led a lot of laps at Thompson earlier this year, and he should be a strong contender today, too.
Yeah, kind of another part-timer with some good speed coming in.
Tell me about this racetrack. We know it's a mile, but it's also pretty flat.
Yeah, I really love New Hampshire. It's a very technical racetrack for an oval. Drivers have to use a lot of brake, but take care of the brakes and then get the car to roll really fast through the center of the corner. I think the biggest thing for these drivers today is going to be taking care of that right front tire on this 70-lap race that we could see a lot of long green flag runs.
Drivers trying to put a little heat in those tires and getting ready to go. You see the 16 of Derek Kraus in that Napa car. As we take a look at our starting lineup, there's Tyler Ankrum on the outside of row 1. Harrison Burton's going to be right on the inside of row number 2, but it's a pretty deep field as we work our way back.
Yeah, I mean, those are your heavy hitters, but I like seeing Cole Rouse in there and these West Coast teams coming out. Bill McAnally bringing his cars. Haley Deegan you see as well. That's a good check mark for them. You know, they run well on the West Coast, but these East Coast teams have a lot of resources, so it's a big trip for them, but it's definitely worth the risk.
And a fantastic opportunity for Haley to get some East Coast experience.
Exactly.
And on a much bigger racetrack here.
Yeah, this is a track that she'll be racing at for a long time.
Here we go, coming to the green flag. And we're racing at Loudon.
Let's see what lane these guys choose right off the bat. Remember, we've got that PJ1 sticky stuff in both the top. You can see them right there, the top and the bottom groove.
Ankrum making the bottom work good. He's going to take the lead, and now Burton goes side by side with the 16 of Kraus as they try to settle second place. The 40 is Anthony Alfredo. He's holding on to 4th position for now.
Anthony's had some good speed this year as well, driving for MDM. As a driver, I'm thinking about this bottom groove here, and I want to try to make it work for a couple laps like Harrison is doing, but I'm not going to run too long on the very bottom because it's going to be too hard on my right front tire. I don't want to burn the right front tire off and get the car too tight on a long run.
During the modified races here, the outside grooves seem to be the better lane.
It definitely is with those cars, and they're very momentum focused. A little bit of contact here early on. I know that's getting the stress levels high for those two crew chiefs thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want my drivers to wreck. But for the modifieds, they're definitely momentum type cars. They can run that top groove a lot more committed.
Alfredo making the bottom work pretty good there as he comes up to challenge for 3rd in that 40, and Burton will push him back for now. And here comes the 74. That's Brandon McReynolds, who has spent quite a bit of time with us, sitting right where you are.
Yeah, Brandon's a good little driver, and you can see those are big teams right there. Bill McAnally, DGR, MDM, and there's Brandon McReynolds in that 74.
How tough is it for Brandon, who has been doing commentary, to come back and jump in the car like this and figure out the idiosyncrasies of the drivers he's got to battle with today?
It might be a challenge to have multiple responsibilities and have multiple focuses, but Brandon's got a lot of experience as a driver. He knows this series very well. He's someone that I lean on for the commentary side of things, for sure.
Me too. Ankrum continues to lead over Kraus. Of course, Kraus, one of those West Coast cars.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see this preferred groove is very similar to what we have in the Xfinity cars and in the Cup cars. Obviously, the K&N cars are all very different, but still similar to the NASCAR race cars that we race on the weekends. They're entering in that top PJ1 groove and then around the middle of the corners where that car needs to rotate and drive straight off the bottom and catch them at PJ1 on the bottom.
Ankrum with 2 wins this year, 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s in 8 starts. There's Harrison Burton.
I like seeing that 17 car, just the way it rotates right there in the middle of the corner. Tyler knows he's got a good car. I talked to David Gill before the race here, and he told me that that he felt like the 17 and the 16 were probably two of the strongest cars, but that 54 of his teammate Tyler Dipple had a pretty good practice session as well. You know, he struggled at Thompson last week, wrecking in practice, had to fix the car. They didn't get a chance to work on it as much, so you know, hopefully it's a little redemption for Dipple this weekend. So you see him work his way up through the field. You mentioned you like the way the car rotates in the center of the corner. Put me inside the cockpit as a driver. What's that sensation like, and when do you know you've got a car that's good at that? Well, it's almost like a feeling of pivot. I mean, if you try to turn the steering wheel and those front tires slide, then it just delays your reaction. So these guys, these drivers, they want to get into the corner, use a lot of brake, and when they turn on the wheel, they want to feel those front tires respond. And you have to test that limit pretty quick so you know what you have to deal with. Yeah, and you don't want it to do too much. I mean, that's when we see him back into the corner. We are just getting started here in Loudon, New Hampshire. Stay with us. More of the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East coming your way.
Hi, I'm Cole Rouse, driver the number 99 Napa Filters Toyota. I started off in late models. When I was 15 years old, now progressed to NASCAR K&N West and partially the East. Hoping to do some truck races later this year and get ready for next year, hopefully do a full-time truck deal. Toyota put me in a really good spot to go to Kyle Busch Motorsports and race super late models for a full season. Kyle's awesome help, so it was great to have him around, and it's great competition. We'll have the Sunrise Ford guys there this year competing for a championship with us, and of course our Bill McAnally Racing, my teammates over there, competing for a championship too and wins. I'm Cole Rouse, and that's your NASCAR Next Gen Profile.
Welcome back to Loudon, New Hampshire. New Hampshire Motor Speedway in the United Sight Service is 70. Just 10 laps in of the 70 that we're going to run here this afternoon. Watching the 74 of Brandon McReynolds with the 54 of Tyler Dipple getting to the inside. And this is a fight for position to get in the top 5.
We saw a little tire smoke. It looked maybe brakes or Brandon was bottoming out the car on entry. He was really diving it into the corner. Dipple's got this thing working on the bottom pretty well. I'm impressed with that. You know, it's just really early in the race to be pushing your right front tire like that on the bottom.
Well, that's why this is a bit of a developmental series, right? Oh, smoke coming out of
that's what I was saying.
Back of Brandon still.
I think he's getting a lot of heat in his brakes, and you can definitely do that here at New Hampshire. You have to get on the brakes hard and get them to slow the car down, but then you got to get off them as quickly as you can. Brandon had brake issues last week at Thompson, so hopefully that's not something that he's seeing this week as well.
Well, that's a scary feeling when you have brake issues.
Oh, absolutely.
Krause still in front of Harrison Burton.
I like how Harrison gets off a turn 2 here. I've been watching him for a couple laps. He gets a really good drive off of 2, and look at that move right underneath Krause.
Well, he's going to run it right down into 3, and that should be good enough to take over second position as he lets that car slide back up to that middle groove. That's what you want to do. You want to take their lane just like that. That's a great use of his momentum off of 2. That's how you have to pass. You can't pass people by diving into the corner. You have to. The momentum has to start from the corner exit. Well, Derek Krause is having a pretty solid run into the top 3 so far here today, Dylan.
Ralph, of course, that 16 car won this race last year with Todd Gilliland in the seat. He drove that back-to-back K&N West Series championships, but they came here last year, invaded the East, and absolutely dominated this event. Todd won by almost 8 seconds behind the wheel of that Napa Toyota. Derek Krause is on his way to having another solid run in the East Series this year. Started from the pole. That was his first career East pole, and running 3rd right now, doing a nice job logging laps here early and figuring out what he's got behind the wheel of that race car.
Says a lot about the Bill McAnally Racing organization that they can bring the West cars to the East and be competitive. The cars are good. Their drivers are very solid. Absolutely. I mean, there's just so many resources on the East Coast, all the machine shops and all the talent and all the people. So for someone like Bill McAnally to have, you know, the talent that he has on the West Coast and just build quality race cars year after year is really shows a lot about him as a team owner. And bringing those cars all the way from Roseville, California, I can tell you they get the Long Tow Award for sure. Yeah, it no doubt. More than one truck driver to make that trip for sure. Yes, they do. Ankrum still just dominating this show. What do you think is the key to his success this year? I think it's just solid equipment at DGR, and those drivers have been executing. I mean, Tyler has been
figuring these cars out. You can see every single week he's getting the most out of them, managing his race well. I mean, those are the kinds of things that you learn here in the K&N series, is how to manage a race. I think that Harrison right now has a little bit more speed than Ankrum, but the key is going to be, how does he get to the bumper? How does he manage the feet on the racetrack, his tires? You know, he still has 50 laps to go. So that's all a part of what these drivers are learning. I think that's something that Tyler Ankrum has really mastered over the last 3 or 4 races.
Great battle back here for 12. Look at this. About 5 cars all stuck right in the middle of it. Ruben Garcia is one of them in the 6.
Colin Garrett in the 18. I talked to his car owner earlier today, and he told me that figuring out the line was their biggest challenge. He said that Colin told him after practice, they had a short practice session, he thought, I think the car's pretty good. I know there's a lot of speed left in my line with this PJ1.
The Bassett brothers are right in the middle of it. It's Ronnie in the 04, and then Dylan in the 44, and joining the mix is Sam Mayer on the high side in the white 27.
Dylan Bassett with a strong run last week at Thompson.
Well, that's a racetrack that's nothing like this one.
Yeah, exactly. And he's taking the same car from Thompson in New Hampshire. As we're back to the lead, there's Harrison. A little bit closer on Tyler Ankrum here.
Okay, you know, you were talking about Tyler's got fast race car, but he still has those yellow rookie stripes on the back of it. So you can have good equipment, but as a young driver, he's obviously doing something right.
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, he has the technique. He knows how to drive these cars as free as they need to be. You know, we talked about him rotating and having a car that rotates. Tyler Ankrum, similar to his teammate Tyler Dipple, who's got dirt track experience, Tyler Ankrum can drive the car loose enough to roll the middle.
Now he's going to learn to defend his position here as Burton is definitely closed in. And the fight back here for third continues to heat up. Alfredo has been right there all afternoon with that number 40.
Anthony just needs to follow that 16 into the corner and try to turn down earlier than him. Same thing with Harrison. I've been seeing him, when he gets close to the 17, he kind of chops his entry. You can see how he enters the corner a little bit lower than a 17. You see he turns down a little bit lower too, and that kind of kills his momentum. He needs to drive right up to the bumper of the 17. He doesn't need to hit him, although that would be fun. He doesn't need to hit him. He just needs to follow him into the corner and then turn down just a little bit sooner instead of chopping the entry.
Well, at least don't tap him on lap 22.
Exactly.
Save it for lap 70, right?
Exactly. If he does tap him, he better make sure he clears the pass and runs away.
This race being run late afternoon as well. How do you think that's going to affect this racetrack?
Yeah, the sun's kind of going down. I think the speeds will pick up. Temperatures get a little bit cooler.
Getting the tires ready if needed. We'll be right back for more from Loudon. Back in Loudon, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Ralph Shaheen, Landon Castle, and Dylan Welch with you. Watching NASCAR's K&N Pro Series East. Competing here on the 1-mile oval known as the Magic Mile. So far, the story has been about these two drivers at the front of the field. Tyler Ankrum has basically led every lap in the 17. Harrison Burton in that 12, just matching him step for step and certainly for speed.
Yeah, I mean, Ankrum's, like you said, he's led them all, but I wouldn't say he's had it come easy. It's not easy as a driver to look in your mirror lap after lap and see the same distance between you and the car behind you. It's one thing if you see him catching you or if you see him going away, but if he's there lap after lap after lap, it causes so much stress to be like, I have to hit my marks. I have to hit my marks and be perfect every time.
But at this point, you would think maybe Harrison Burton should pass him if he could, just to see what it's like for him to be out front a little bit. Or maybe he just can't. And a bit of what looks like a throwback to Jeff Bodine paint scheme for the 15 of Chase Cabry. Of course, they ran that throwback deal at Thompson, and they just left it that way. I like it, actually. It looks pretty cool. And then the 82 sitting right there, Spencer Davis, coming inside.
Yeah, he kind of dove it into the corner where, remember we talked earlier, you got to have good momentum off the previous corner to kind of get in front of the guy on entry. There's a little bit better move. Still not far enough, though. He's going to have to wiggle him out of the way, which he does. kind of an aggressive move for Spencer Davis. He's got to make sure he doesn't get a shot in the back on the next corner.
You a fan of the throwback paint schemes?
I love them, yeah. It's a lot of fun. We do it at Darlington every year, and you know, our guys go all out. They get the outfits and the old shirts. It's kind of a special weekend. Anybody that can grow a mustache typically does.
I think it's a great idea. Davis starting to pull away a little bit here too.
Yeah, that just proves that he knew he had a faster car and he was willing to make an aggressive move to just save time and get around him and get going. That was good time management on Spencer's part.
So still nothing has changed here.
Harrison just right there with Ankrum, though. I mean, the slightest mistake.
Let's touch base with Dylan.
Guys, one of the things that's so fascinating about this series, especially when you're listening to the different driver radios and the team communications, is just how much coaching is going on between the driver, the crew chief, and the spotter. Of course, this is a development series, so it's very important for these drivers to learn as much as they can while they're racing in these K&N Pro Series East and West divisions, so that when they get to the next level, whether that's a truck or an Xfinity car or even moving on to ARCA, something like that, there's so much that goes into being a successful stock car racer, and just listening to the radios, listening to the spotters coach these drivers around the racetrack and tell them to prepare for things like how they're going to navigate through lap cars or where the leaders are running. All of that goes into getting these cars around the racetrack fast, and it's awfully interesting to be able to listen to all of that as these laps wind down.
You know, another thing that you don't even realize, but because this is a companion weekend with the Cup cars, a lot of these drivers are using some of the Cup Series spotters that are there on the road that they don't typically have. So it's some pretty good coaching for these young guys.
And a lot of pressure, too, because drivers like Harrison Burton and our race leader here, Tyler Ankrum, are on the radar of some of those big teams that are pitted in the garage area here this weekend at the NASCAR Cup Series. So, you know, there's some stress to perform on a day like today when you know the eyes are on you.
Yeah, these were always the races. When I drove in the K&N Series, New Hampshire was one of the races that I drove in. And this was important to me for that sole reason, that I knew there was big team owners and influencers watching this race.
At the halfway point here, scheduled for 70 laps this afternoon. Top two continue to pace each other. Ankrum and Burton. More coming up after this. It's been a good day of racing here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway with NASCAR's K&N Pro Series East on NBCSN. The race scheduled for 70 laps, and once it went green, the 17. Tyler Ankrum jumped out front, and he has basically led the entire way. He's been chased the majority of the day by the number 12 of Harrison Burton. No cautions, trouble-free so far. Early on, though, we thought maybe that 16 of Derek Kraus would have a shot at maybe the win, but he's been fighting for third with Alfredo right on his tail most of the afternoon in the 40. Yeah,
and I think Alfredo here has one of the strongest cars in the field. If he could just break free of this 16, I think he could catch your leaders for sure. And you got Tyler Dipple, who's kind of coming to the picture as well. He's been working sort of the top and the bottom, trying to find the right line. I think he's found his fastest line is up top, but I feel like he's been able to make the bottom work when he needs to better than some of the other drivers.
Dipple has one win this year in the East, and he's right in the middle of the points chase, second in the points, so he needs to move further up as we watch Alfredo making a bid for third here on the bottom.
This is a move that he needed. He had a little bobble on entry into one, but that's a generous move from Derek Kraus to give him some space. He ends up losing 2 spots because of it. But now we got a chance to see Alfredo, see what kind of speed he has, because I think he's got one of the fastest cars in the field right now. Ankrum's been up front still, leading. He's kind of been chopping his entry, running a middle lane a little bit. I don't know if he's been adjusting for his car or not. You can kind of see him coming out of the PJ1 there right in the middle.
And you can see the gap up to the leaders here.
We're getting to that point in the race where we're just past halfway. You know, if their balance on their cars is going to go the wrong direction, now is when it's happening. You can see, you know, Harrison has stayed close to that leader of Tyler Ankrum, but he just hasn't been able to get to his bumper. I almost wonder if Harrison's fading a little bit.
That's Reed Lampfer in the black 59 that they're trying to work to the inside of.
Even passing a lap car is challenging. As you can see, he doesn't get around him with ease. It kind of holds up the leader just a little bit and allows Harrison to close the gap.
Yeah, if you don't clear that on the bottom like that, you lose so much momentum that other car is able to gain a lot of ground back.
Yeah, that's where we go back and talk about time management and managing the feet on the racetrack, the amount of space. Just a couple tenths is worth 3 or 4 car lengths.
Boy, Dipple's getting pretty aggressive here all of a sudden. Now that they've gotten around Kraus, he has a real solid opportunity to take third away, which would help him a ton in the points.
Absolutely. That even though there's 25 laps to go, there's a sense of urgency here, because if it takes me 5 or 6 laps to pass Alfredo, if I'm Dipple, I'll only have 20 laps left to go catch the leaders and get by both of them.
Could really use a yellow right about now, couldn't he?
Absolutely. I think all these drivers are looking for a yellow, because this isn't one of the most physical racetracks that we go to, but in our Cup cars, it's one of the hottest tracks because it's so flat. The cars are really low to the ground all the time. You can see these K&N cars here. They're really low to the ground down the straightaway. They get really hot inside the car, so a little break would be nice for these drivers.
Of course, no scheduled pit stops in this race, too, so with that fuel burning off, that's going to definitely impact how these cars are handling.
Yeah, the cars will tend to go tight on the long run. You can see as Dipple was trying to work around the 40 car, he would move to the bottom, and eventually it just kind of hurts your right front tire, and the cars will get tighter and tighter on a long run. You end up slowing down so much through the corners that you feel like you could downshift with these K&N cars. I don't know if they do or not. I haven't driven one in a while, but they feel like they could grab third gear in the middle of the corner.
Well, they used to downshift the Cup cars here, right?
Yeah, and I think that we may not be far from trying that again. These Cup teams, they try it about any chance they get.
Coming to the pits is Bassett, an unscheduled stop for the 44 out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Yeah, it's hard to have any kind of mechanical issues when you're having long runs like this.
And he goes right back out onto the pit lane. Not sure if there was a penalty with the drive-through or what the cause was.
Tyler Ankrum kind of stretching the lead out. Like I said, he's kind of been chopping that entry and running the middle lane a little bit, but he's holding on to that lead.
Boy, it has been a smooth day for him. And here's Harrison Burton, who began his driving career at such a young age in a big-sized car.
Definitely good to have a dad that knows the way, and can give the right advice.
Pretty good fight here. Cole Rouse in the 99, one of those McAnally cars from the West Coast, battling with Ryan Vargas in that number 2 Toyota. Dylan, what can you tell us about Rouse?
Ralph, keep in mind, Cole Rouse had to go to the back, had to start from the rear of this race for unapproved adjustments post-qualifying. When they came in after their qualifying run yesterday evening, they were pushing a ton of water out of the overflow. So they diagnosed it as some sort of water pressure issue. They think they've got it fixed. He's been able to march forward throughout the first half of the field and is kind of riding in that 9th and 10th spot here as he battles with Ryan Vargas.
That's a potentially big learning experience when you're pushing water out of the radiator of these cars. You don't want these things to overheat, and if you push too much water out of them, then there's no water to cool the engine, and you'll never know. That thing will just blow right up on you. So as a driver, I always have to watch my water temperature gauge, but the water pressure gauge has to stay up as well.
7 top 5s for Rouse out on the West Coast this year.
Yeah, he's been strong on some of those West Coast racetracks. It's been fun to watch him this season. Aggressive move on Vargas through the middle of the corner, just trying to get to his bumper, but Cole is doing a good job of getting a turn and getting a good run off the corners. As we move back up to Ankrum here, just working lap traffic. We talked about managing time, managing the distance on the racetrack. I would say that his spotter right now is trying to work him through this lap traffic to make sure that he doesn't lose the race through just trying to pass these slower cars.
Well, that's the thing. You've had such a smooth day, but a bobble now could be extremely costly.
Yeah, I mean, just the slightest mistakes, you start losing 2 or 3 tenths at a time. That means you're losing 2 or 3 car lengths at a time to second place at Harrison Burton.
Fight for 8th here. Running just about through the middle of the racetrack, almost the same line. Tristan in that 30, then moving a little bit further down to the bottom. You feel a huge difference in the surface when you move from where
Absolutely.
PJ1 is to not?
Absolutely. You feel like in my cars, I have to enter the corner on the PJ1, and you can drive across it like they're doing, but I have to make sure that my car is pointed at the next layer of PJ1, so I can just drive across the middle, and then it gets me to the bottom, and I have good grip for the exit.
Here's Harrison, last year's champion here in the East.
See a lot of brake dust on his right front wheel. You can see he's just using a ton of brake here to get the car slowed down and then releasing it. See, that front tire is darker than the rear tire. That might tell me that his car is getting tight, you know, watching him. Sometimes the more brake dust you see, the tighter their cars are, and the more they struggle to get through the middle. Is he's kind of losing ground to Tyler Ankrum.
His lap times have definitely slowed, and Ankrum's have not. Beautiful day here in and around Lake Winnipesaukee, not far from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We'll be right back as we work our way to the checkers. Full of laps left to go here in the United Site Services 70. Ralph Shaheen, Landon Castle, and Dylan Welch with you as we've watched Tyler Ankrum in the 17 absolutely dominate this day here at the Magic Mile. And that's not to take anything away from the 12 of Harrison Burton, who's run a very good race. Just hasn't had the speed of the number 17.
Yeah, he could get right up to him, like we said, but he couldn't get to his bumper. And I say the 40 of Anthony Alfredo in third place. He's got the best speed on the racetrack right now, but he's kind of running out of time. He really needs a caution to close the field here and maybe steal it on a restart.
This has been one of the better battles of late.
You can tell these drivers from the beginning of the race to the end of the race know a little bit better how to work that PJ1 and work the line, because they're doing a much better job of getting that arc on entry, staying up in the black stuff. You can see both of them. And then now is where they turn back across and drive straight off.
Chase and Tristan fighting inside the top 10, squabbling over 8th position.
Laps to go. Tyler Ankrum's just got to be thinking, okay, I've got some lap cars in front of me. How can I get through them efficiently? Pray for no cautions.
That sun continuing to set, more and more shadows here, making it a little bit easier. How about Ankrum? What can we see as we work our way to the checkers here, Dylan?
It's been a good weekend so far for Tyler Ankrum. Was fastest overall in the 2 practice sessions that we had here yesterday in New Hampshire. This is another car that raced in this event last year and had an awfully good run. Chase Purdy was driving it last year, qualified on the pole, and ran second to Todd Gilliland. So they know this car has some speed as well. It's been a good stretch here for Tyler Ankrum. Has a top 5 in all but one race this year, and that came at New Jersey Motorsports Park on the road course there, where he was running in the top 3, and it was involved in an incident late. So another strong run for him continues here as the laps wind down. He's trying to hold on for his 3rd win of the year.
This is the kind of performance you want to have here at Loudon. We talk about how prestigious this racetrack is for the K&N Pro Series East and the Whelen Modified Tours. When you come here to Loudon and you perform like this is strong.
Yeah, this is right when the garages are closing in the Cup garage. The guys are kind of slowing down, working on their cars for the day, and they're watching on the big screen in the infield, and they're going to remember who wins this race for sure.
Word gets around pretty quick, too.
Absolutely, especially when you're driving for someone like David Gilliland, who has so many connections in this garage. I mean, he's someone that I talk to regularly just to see how he's doing. Raced against him a lot. So he's definitely going to tell me, oh, man, you got to check out this Ankrum kid that I got. He's a sharp driver.
Bassett in the 04 will be the next car that Tyler has to deal with. They get a blast of bright sunshine just as they go into 3, don't they?
Yeah, typically you'll take the windshield down a couple rows before the race starts. I don't see any tape on Burton's windshield, though. You know, a lot of drivers have little visors in front of their helmets as well. I don't have a visor on my helmet. I typically do the tape on the windshield so I can peel it off from the inside if I need.
Ankrum making that first start on a big racetrack like this, and he's going to absolutely dominate the day. I think he's going to love coming back here.
Yeah, he just doesn't need a caution here with about 5 to go, but he's definitely feeling good about himself. He just needs smooth laps. He just needs to finish that line, drive the car straight off the corner, because now he's to a point where even if Harrison gets to my bumper, I just don't need to make a mistake. I need to be smart, protect, my entry, protect my exit so that he can't get to my bumper. But he's got a good enough gap and a lap car in between him. He just needs a smooth sailing from here.
I certainly don't think Harrison has done anything to impact his resume in a negative way, too. The car just hasn't had the speed. He's done a good, solid job as a driver here today.
Yeah, absolutely. He's hit his marks well. You can see him searching around, trying the bottom here. I could tell his right front is just kind of fading. His car isn't rolling the middle as good as it was 30 laps ago. I mean, I think if he had a shot at winning this race, it would have been, 20 laps ago, he might have needed to make an aggressive move and then protect from there. But it's hard to beat a dominant car like this 17.
I remember a day at this very racetrack when Harrison's dad had a day like Ankrum's having, and nobody was touching him either.
Yeah, when you're on it, you're on it. We've seen a lot of good performances like that this year.
It is rare, though, that we come here to this facility outside of Harrison's dad and see one individual car lead every lap.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that is because New Hampshire can be a strategy racetrack. You get some cautions, people want to make adjustments, take 2 tires if you're talking about a pit stop type race, and then track position becomes important. So these crew chiefs are always trying to find a way to get their driver out front.
Tyler Ankrum going for his 3rd victory of the season here today.
Just 2.5 laps to go for him. He's racing himself right now, not just to the checkered flag, but to the white flag, because now he's got a good enough lead that if I see that white flag, the next flag ends it. So I just want to see that white flag come out, cross the finish line, and then cruise for that last lap.
And he knows how prestigious winning here is. Boy, these last couple of laps probably some of the most nerve-wracking of the day for him.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing is just make sure you don't wheel hop into the corner. Don't chatter those rear brakes. He can see that flag flying now off of turn 4. This is the white flag, 1 to go. Good battle for second here. We've got that Alfredo in the 40 car.
Yeah, he's going to make a run here, isn't he?
He's been the strongest car. It just may not have enough time. He's just got to get to his bumper. If he can follow Harrison into turn 3, he'll have a chance. But no chance for anybody against Ankrum.
No, Tyler has been so strong here today. He has led every lap, including the most important, the last one. Tyler Ankrum takes the win at Loudon. And it looks like Burton will make it to the checkers to hold on to 2nd place in front of Alfredo.
I like seeing these guys go wire to wire. That's good to see young drivers. No accidents, but a lot of action back in the field. Nobody had a candle. Nobody could hold a candle to Tyler Ankrum today, though. That car was definitely the fastest.
Those gentlemen can certainly celebrate. They did a fine job in putting together a great race car for the man who won here today, Tyler Ankrum. Victory number 3, 2018. We'll meet the winner back here in Victory Lane. K&N Pro Series Racing and NBCSN is brought to you by K&N High Flow Air Filters and Air Intake Systems, because everyone loves that fast car smell. Pulling into Victory Lane here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway today is Tyler Ankrum, who just flat dominated all 70 laps and will now crawl out of the car with the big win here today. Let's head down to Victory Lane.
We won last time out at Thompson. Going to make it 2 in a row for Tyler Ankrum. He's in Victory Lane, the New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Way to go, buddy. Awesome. Good job. Good job.
Getting the congratulations for all the crew. Man, that thing looked like it was on cruise control. Was it that nice to drive?
Kind of, not really. It was a long race, man. I wasn't expecting to go green like that. I just kind of got a little worried when Burton started to come, but you know, I just had to push the car as far as it'll let me go, and you know, it was it wanted me to do what it wanted to do. So hats off to DJR Crosley. You know, they gave me once again a fantastic race car. You know, they helped me work. They work really hard for me and helps me work hard for them. So you know, gotta thank Modern Meat, Toyota, DJR Crosley. It's just I didn't think I was going to get 2 in a row this year or 3 wins. So I'm really excited.
You guys have had a top 5 in all but 1 race this year. Where do you feel like you're the strongest right now?
Oh gosh, oh, that was a little chilly. Man, where I feel the strongest, you know, they just work so hard, you know. I don't think I've ever met a set of guys that work as hard as DJR Crosley does. I mean, I was driving by the house one night just to go to dinner. It was like 8:30 at night, and they were still there working. You know, they love racing, and so do I. So I'm really excited for the rest of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tyler Ankrum, 3rd win of the year.
Well, you saw David Gilliland there. Here's a look at the results. Derek Kraus with a solid run finishes 5th, and our broadcast colleague Brandon McReynolds comes home in 6th.
Yeah, top 5 from the West Coast is not such a bad thing there. Ruben Garcia with a 12th place finish.
And Haley Deegan came across the line in 16th. Let's go back down to Dylan.
Harrison Burton comes home 2nd this afternoon. Got close to him there. What more did you need to kind of pull the trigger?
It was tough. You know, this place is really hard to pass at. It's been notoriously hard to pass. And even the 16, it took me a while to pass him. I had to kind of pull a slide job on him almost. And it was tough. It was a lot of fun, though. I had fun out here. I love racing K&N East. I don't get to do it as much as I did last year, obviously, but I like coming out here. I seem to be really close to winning every time I come. I think I finished 2nd like every East race I've been in, so 2nd or 3rd. So I don't know. It's tough, but just needed to turn a little better. We got behind him and kept getting more aero tight, and then it kind of built the right front up, and we got tighter and tighter and tighter. So we were really good, like right when we fired off. If we could have got around them, maybe held them off, I don't know, but I think they were better than us today. We just got to go back and get our stuff better and go out and win the next one.
Solid day for him. Harrison Burton comes home 2nd.
Absolutely a great performance. As we take a look at the point standings, Tipple fought hard and minimized the damage today.
Yeah, I mean, he's really just going to need wins to catch his teammate of Tyler Ankrum, but those 2 cars have pretty equal speed.
Dylan, I'd say Anthony Alfredo had a good run today as well.
3rd place for Anthony Alfredo tonight. How would you evaluate your run?
I think we had a successful run as far as our performance. I'm just frustrated with our end result. I think we definitely had a winning car. I was the fastest car on the racetrack based on lap times from pretty much the time I got into 3rd and all the way till the end there. I actually ran down the 12, who was actually about 3/4 of a straightaway in front of me at one point when I was trying to get into 3rd, because when I was working on the 16, it's very difficult to pass, and that's just something I think I had to figure out as a driver. This is really new to me, this bigger track and the way this place is, so that's going to help me a lot when I come back. I just think a caution at the end would have been really great for us. I'd like to see what our odds were of racing for the win there, because as I said, I think we really did a good job doing our homework and coming here with some new ideas and myself just studying how I could be better as a driver. Sometimes I need to work on some stuff, and I try to do that to the best of my ability this weekend, so I'm proud of that. I'm going to keep doing that. And as I said before, maybe we could come back and get the end result we want. But I just want to thank everyone who makes this possible for me, all my marketing partners, JRF, Footing First, Oxford Energy Group, Mechanic Shop, and Seco Building Systems, as well as the race team. They work so hard for me. So it's a dream to come to a cup track like this. It always is, and I'm not where I want to be in my career yet necessarily, but just to be doing this is something that I know I'm very fortunate for and very grateful for.
No doubt he had a good day today. 3rd place for Anthony Alfredo.
He sure did. And next up on our NBCSN coverage of NASCAR's Touring Series, the Whelen Modified Tour, the Eastern Propane and Oil 100. From right here at Loudon, that's coming your way next here on NBCSN. Well, the K&N Pro Series East saw a few of the West Coast stars invade here at the Magic Mile, but in the end, it was the East that came out with a dominant victory here today. For Dylan Welch and Landon Castle, I'm Ralph Shaheen. Congratulations to the big winner, Tyler Ankrum.